Welcome to another AP US History Review video with Mr. Pate. Here we go. Today we're talking about the Anti-Federalists versus the Federalists. Who were the Anti-Federalists? These are people who disagree with the 1787 Constitution that's created the Constitutional Convention. They don't like it. It is going to be up for ratification, which means it has to be approved by the different states, and they are the people voicing displeasure. There are a lot of people that were revolutionary leaders people who were among the leaders of the revolution. You've got, Patrick Henry, and you've got Samuel Adams, you've got Richard Henry Lee, you've got John Hancock. And so you've got, there are a lot of people that were among the people calling for revolution who are saying this government's going to become too powerful and tyrannical. And that's their main problem. They think it's a too powerful government. Okay? So let's look at some of their specific objections and how the Federalists dealt with those. Now, this is not the Federalists of the 1790s with John Adams, Alexander Hamilton, George Washington. Not the same group of people. Okay? What we're looking at, the Federalists, in fact, are people, including some future opponents of those Federalists, like James Madison. So these Federalists are people saying, no, the government needs to be this strong or else it's not going to work. And we have John Jay, Alexander Hamilton, and James Madison are going to be the three main Federalists. Now, James Madison makes a ton of sense because he's kind of the architect of the Constitution itself, so he would be one of the backers of it. But Hamilton, Jay, and Madison, especially Hamilton and Madison, are going to write a series of brilliant treatises on how government should work and the nature of government and effective governing, called the Federalist Papers. Okay, so argument from the Anti-Federalists. First one is it's too much power for the federal government. The big argument. The second one is the necessary and proper clause would give the government too much power. Now, with both of these, it's really important to keep in mind their goal is a small government that's not going to be oppressive, even not be bigger than state government power. Well, the Federalists are going to respond by saying, well, the way this is set up, it won't do that. And again, both people their audience are the people of the United States and the state legislatures that have to approve these, that have to ratify. Separation of powers, each of three equal branches with separated powers. And so powers diffused where one group won't be able to gang up and have all of the power. Also, checks and balances. Each of these branches have to cooperate together to make things happen, but at the same time they have to cooperate together, they also can limit each other's power. And we see this all the time. We see the Supreme Court overturn a verdict on a case or rule against a government action. This happened during the New Deal. They said some of the programs are unconstitutional. During times of war, they review things. There have been all kinds of different times where the Supreme Court has said, you know what, you haven't done something right. U.S. versus Nixon in 1974, the Supreme Court's going to say they're going to reject the claim of executive privilege by Nixon and say you have to turn in these tapes. So the checks and balances, whether it's vetoing a bill or investigating the president by Congress or even, declaring a law unconstitutional, the checks and balances stop it from being too powerful of a federal government, and the different groups either have to work together or they limit each other. All right, 3, they said having an army in peacetime is dangerous. Well, the Federalists are going to say, without an army, you get Shays' Rebellion. You're going to have huge problems, you must have an army. States subject to national government. They said, we want the states to be above the national government. You're saying the national government's going to be above the states. And they said, true, it is above the states. But the 10th Amendment reserves other powers not listed in the Constitution to the states and the people. So they're saying the states are still going to have plenty of areas of power and responsibility. But you need a federal government in terms of dealing with other countries. And they'd seen this during the Articles of Confederation period, that countries like Spain closes New Orleans because they didn't have any specific state to deal with. They needed an actual national government. They said also, some of the other problems like tariffs and coining money needed to be done by just the federal government. But the beauty of this federalism system, you have some things like coining money or making tariffs or making treaties with other countries or having an army. They're going to be done by the national government. But you have other things, such as today, all schools. Basically, main decisions on schools are made by the states. States determine that. States set up their own welfare system, okay? And then you have some things that are concurrent shared powers, like making of roads, having taxes, and other things of that nature. And so federalism is a shared power relationship, which they explain. The last thing, and this is the most penetrating of their complaints, the one that actually people were like, yeah, that is a problem, we don't like that. No Bill of Rights. Well, they first said, well, you don't need a Bill of Rights because if we list some rights, then maybe the government will take away other rights. But then they said, okay, we'll add a Bill of Rights. We promise, first order of business, once the Constitution is ratified, the new government comes in and is elected, they'll start working on a Bill of Rights. And that's going to arrive in 1791. Well, hopefully this helps you understand the difference between the Federalists of the constitutional ratification process from the other Federalists in the 1790s, and understanding differences between the Federalists and Anti-Federalists. That's all the time we have for today. Stay classy.